Happy Friday, dear friends, and welcome to episode number 8. Today's episode will discuss the art of seeing. It's an abridged version of the Dermatologist and the Rabbi. We'll explore seeing, focusing on how it is both a curse, a sin, and a blessing. We'll discuss the Parsha, the chapter that speaks of the spies sent to travel the entire length and breadth of the Promised Land, and see if past history can tell us anything about how we can understand today's current events in light of the spies as it reflects on October 7th and last week preemptive strikes on Iran, who's officially changed its name in 1935 from Persia to Iran, Iran meaning the people of the Arian race, and whose leader, the Ayatollah Ali Khamenei, not to be confused with khomeinie, previous leader, daily plans and vows to annihilate Israel, and was months away from building the nuclear weapon we are all grateful to God Hitler never acquired, since we know how both would use it if they had it. Parshat Shalach, vision, is the art of seeing what is invisible to others. This statement by Jonathan Swift emphasizes the idea that true vision or insight involves perceiving things that others cannot see, making the invisible visible through understanding or expression. Why is God then asking Moses to send spies to reconquer the land of Canaan? Does God not see? No, God sees all too well, and thus he feels that the gift that he has given to the children of Jacob, aka Israel, should be checked first by the spies to see if they would appreciate the gift, if they would want it, and if they're ready to take and cherish it, making it into a beacon of God's light, where the laws of the Bible will be practiced unhindered from within and prove the model to the rest of civilization, where humans sacrifice the importance of Shabbat as a day of rest and peace, the social construct of a tribe whose sole work would be to live among the people and be their educators, the tribe of Levit, where 10% tax would be raised to help poor, orphans, and widows, where respect to the ger, the foreigners who lives among you in your land, would sustain the nation of Israel forever, in and through this eternal covenant that happened on Mount Sinai. While today these ideas are obvious, back then, 2,000 years ago, before the Common Era, these ideas were radical, revolutionary, and Abraham and Jacob saw a line to the humanity's mindset. So the story goes as a democratic decision, and Moses was the most humble, as it says in the previous Parsha we discussed, person on earth. He goes and he sends the spies, and they go up and down the whole length and breadth of the country that was promised, the country of Canaan, and you can see on the post the other images. And they come back and say, yes, indeed, after 40 days, they come back and say, yes, indeed, the land is milk and honey. And the way they come back is they talk in front of all the people, because Moses believes it should not be in a secret meeting, but their ideas should be shared with everyone, exactly how they chose to see it, right? Their opinion. And the whole people are listening. And 10 of the spies start saying that, yes, even though the land is beautiful, there are giants in the land and we look like grasshoppers compared to them. And actually, we feel like grasshoppers compared to them. And 2 spies, Joshua and Caleb, say, yes, there are giants, but we can take it. We've seen the miracles of God and we can overcome any hardships because this is the promised land and we know that we are able to inherit it. And the people fall on their knees and start crying. Why did you bring us here so we would die in war? Let us go back to Egypt. Again, let us go back to Egypt. They forget all the miracles. They forget the splitting of the sea. They forget the 10 commandments, their vows, and they're ready to give it all up. And Moses at that moment falls on his knees and says to them, trust me, everything will be fine. And God, why did you make me do that? Why did you bring us here if we're going to all fail? And perhaps one of the Mefarshim, one of the translators, says that perhaps this is the reason that Moses never is allowed to enter the promised land, because he did not show the necessary leadership and foresight, because he should have told them, how can you doubt God's promise? Has he not kept each and every promise that he did? And if he said this is the promised land, this will be the promised land that you will be able to inherit. But instead he falls on his knees and asks for forgiveness and hopes that the people are going to not blame him for that. Now, how can we bring this story to current events? And remember, what happens then is the 40 days are going to become now 40 years that the Israelites are going to travel the entire desert. Why 40 years? Well, that would be the time that would take the generation with the mentality of slavery to disappear, except those two who brought good tidings and were of the mindset that they can in fact conquer the land that was promised to them. And so God tells them, now you're crying in vain. Well, this date, which was the 9th of Av, will be a date that would be remembered by you guys in the future, and will be a day when this unity that you have forged, this lack of trust in the covenant, in me, the loss of what I've done for you, is kind of like what happens to us all, where we say, what have you done for me lately, right? This last second will end up in you crying tears that actually are warranted. And indeed, this would be the destruction of the first and second temple, and also the expulsion in 1492 from Spain, and many other calamities that happened to the Jews over the years would happen on this date of the 9th of Av. So how do we connect this to October 7th? Well, on October 7th, we were feeling that something is going to happen that would be wrong. What happened? Same thing that happened on Yom Kippur. There was confidence in our own powers that was also followed by disunity. On October 7th, right before that, the Jews were not united. They were fighting amongst themselves. And it was just a question of time when the terrorists will decide to utilize it against the Jews. And they chose the happiest moment, the Simchat Torah, where we are celebrating our covenant with God, where we are thanking Him for giving us that Bible, which is the root of Christianity, of Islam, of all the pillars that make the democracies the sustained and best political ideologies around the world. And then we have the preemptive strike that fortunately Israel took, and many saw would eventually have to come, but they hoped it will not only be Israel who would have to take the brunt of it. And you can see that Israel is seeing this time the future that without this preemptive strike would lead to the destruction not only of Israel, but of all other nations, and would lead to the theocracy, to the mullahs' ability to control their own agenda and spread this terroristic weapon with groups that would not be able to directly be linked to a government, and therefore the government would be able to avoid paying for it. I'd like to end with a special music in honor of the brave soldiers and the brave civilians who fight against people who try to control our lives and our futures. Let us remember, God did not need the spies. We did. Because sometimes the greatest enemy is not what we see. It's how we see. Let us walk in the footsteps of Joshua and Caleb. Let us look clearly. Let us act courageously. And may we never again confuse peace with blindness. God bless you all, and have a Shabbat Shalom.